Yo, what is happening, guys? How are you doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and I want to discuss a little bit of people's current reactions to everything that they're seeing and not seeing on the Nintendo Switch. So the genesis for this conversation for me came from yesterday's announcement of Pokemon Unite for both the Nintendo Switch and for mobile devices. This has been a super controversial and not well-received announcement from Nintendo and the Pokemon Company as far as Pokemon games within this franchise go. Games that we are playing on the Nintendo Switch in 2020, and just kind of the way, at least the way I see everyone perceiving the Switch's lineup this year. Now, I'm sure most of you watching are probably Pokemon fans, so you probably already know about Pokemon Unite. It's a MOBA-style League of Legends kind of game in the Pokemon franchise that is coming out, like I said, to the Switch and to mobile devices, and will also feature cross-play between them. And from what I've gathered, you guys know, not a Pokemon fan, so I'm not following the details or these live streams and the events that they're showing. But from what I've been able to gather over the past 24 hours, this is something that was left out of last week's Pokemon event and was, I don't know, sort of hyped up as a fairly big announcement. Like, we didn't put it in last week's event because it's such a big deal. You're going to want to see it in its own reveal. And it turned out to be this, what some people are calling the Diablo Immortal of the Pokemon franchise for the Switch and for mobile. And people, you know, Pokemon fans, I should say, are very, very not happy about this. Now, the irony here is that for myself, somebody who is not a Pokemon fan and not really into the franchise, I will admit that this game actually looks kind of sort of interesting to me, mostly because it's more in the style of games that I like than what the typical Pokemon game is. It's not so much about, I don't know, a diss towards Pokemon, nor is it saying that I love MOBA League of Legends types games. It's just, I don't know, this just looks more like a Rob-style game than what Pokemon is. And as a lot of you might know, I even purchased and tried Pokemon Shield over the holidays to give the game and the franchise a fair shot. And while it's not like a terrible game, it definitely was a game that did not work for me, was not very interesting, and basically showed me that, you know, what I've suspected my entire adult life, that Pokemon just isn't for me. However, it should be noted that I understand why people are unhappy with this game. I understand liking a franchise, wanting great new announcements and reveals and things that make you feel like you're getting what you enjoy from that franchise, and stuff that is mobile oriented like a Pokemon Unite, or even like, you know, Diablo Immortal, like I said a minute ago. These things don't feel like the right kinds of titles. You know, they don't really satiate the need from fans of a respective franchise. It's definitely similar in many ways to when Metroid Prime Federation Force was announced for the 3DS back in 2015. It's not like an identical one-to-one comparison, but there are similarities kind of between the two and everyone's reactions and their reasons for reacting negatively, so I kind of do understand that. And so through this announcement of Pokemon Unite and through everyone's mostly negative reactions, and you know, I understand that there might be some of you out there who aren't negative about it and maybe are very excited about Pokemon Unite. And if so, then that's great. I mean, hell, like I said, you just heard me say that I actually think it looks kind of interesting. But for the most part, like the vast, vast majority of people are not a fan of what's going on with Pokemon Unite. And so with that, this of course gives me yet another reason in 2020, probably like the 9th or 10th time I've had to do it this year. It gives me another reason to kind of look at the Nintendo Switch in 2020, its overall lineup, what we've seen so far, the few things we know to expect, and then of course the huge gaps, the things that we're not seeing them do and that we're not seeing them show, and also what I've perceived from people's reactions to all of the Nintendo stuff this year. And really all I continue to see is that most people who are fans of Nintendo or gaming fans in the community are simply just disappointed with what the Switch has been doing this year. Of course, you guys already know and have heard me say that I'm not super bothered by it because I understand why things seem to be this weird. I firmly do believe that before the 2020 health crisis and everything that we've been going through this year, Nintendo probably had a standard quality year and lineup scheduled for 2020. I really do believe that in my heart. Do I know that for a fact? No, I don't. It's just what I feel and what seems right to me. But, of course, then the health crisis does come along, changes everything, slows the industry down, and obviously has been slowing Nintendo down. So, while it sucks that they haven't had a lot to show this year and they're only giving us some of these weird, controversial, strange games like, Paper Mario Origami King that Paper Mario fans are on the fence about, and now, of course, Pokemon Unite that people aren't very happy about, it just makes sense to me, and I understand it, and so I'm just not actively mad at them. But I do see people who are disappointed with what's happening from Nintendo in 2020. There's been very few things that have really made Nintendo fans or gamers very happy or satisfied with Nintendo this year. In fact, the only things I can think about were, I was going to say the reveal of Byleth at the beginning of the year, but actually, no, that's not the case. People were very, very negative on that. But we do know that Animal Crossing came out, was a huge hit. Most people love it. That's a great thing that they did. Paper Mario the Origami King, to be fair, is kind of half disappointing and half exciting because, like I said, diehard Paper Mario fans, from what I've seen, are split. There are some people who are very happy about it and excited, and other people who are very disappointed or extremely skeptical that it's continuing down the Color Splash route. So that one kind of falls into both camps. And then we, of course, have Pokemon Snap from last week. That was another very popular, very well-received announcement from Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. So truly, you only have those 3, or we'll call it 2.5 things, right? Animal Crossing, the half of the people that like Paper Mario Origami King, and then, of course, Pokemon Snap. Those are the only things that I can think of off the top of my head that Nintendo has done or shown or revealed in 2020 that hasn't been met, supremely negatively and hasn't disappointed a lot of people. Now, there are still some question marks that, of course, could continue to be good news for Nintendo and for Nintendo fans. A date for Bayonetta 3, that's 2020, would be huge. Confirming that No More Heroes 3 is 2020 would also be huge. You guys know I'm a little skeptical that that game is going to get delayed until next year. And so, those are 2 games. If Nintendo shows us over the next maybe month or 2 that, hey, No More Heroes 3, Bayonetta 3, also coming out in 2020, get excited. Those are huge slam dunk winners for Nintendo and the Switch this year. We also know Bravely Default is a game releasing next month as well, so that's really exciting. Having Bravely Default and Paper Mario and Pokemon Snap right around the corner is certainly exciting. But man, other than these few things, for the most part, the conversation around Nintendo this year has been overly negative. And I hate to see it. I think any Nintendo fan or any fan of just any company would hate to see that. As much as I can tell you over and over again, I understand it. It's the health crisis. It has to be this way. I totally get it. At the end of the day, it does still suck. No one wants to see people react negatively. No one wants to see their favorite company be very slow with information and game reveals and game releases, trailers, Nintendo Directs, E3 information. It's not a fun time that we're living in, and people reacting negatively to this stuff, I guess, is really just human nature, Is there a way to fix this or course correct this? Tough to say. I think the only answer any of us could come up with to that would be, yes, there's a way to fix this, just release more games, Nintendo, and that obviously sounds great, we would love to see that happen. But none of us really truly know what's going on behind the scenes, so it's tough to say if any of that is a realistic possibility. Breath of the Wild 2 is another game that we know they're making. Probably the biggest game that we know that they're making. And is there a chance that game could release in 2020 and then, heal everyone's wound who feels wounded by Nintendo's slow year? Yeah, there's a chance, but I don't expect it. I predicted it was 2021 even before the health crisis slowed down this year. Metroid Prime 4, obviously, in my opinion, the biggest game that they're making. Oh my god, I'm just so ready for this game. There's no way that that's coming out this year. It's just one of the few games that we happen to know they're making. Are they actually doing a Pikmin or a Star Fox or an F-Zero? Maybe, maybe not. I do believe in Pikmin 4, to be fair, but it still hasn't been confirmed, so who even knows what's going on there. But I also think that some of the biggest games Nintendo would be releasing or making right now, even like another new Mario, for example, I don't know, man. I just can't imagine that they're going to be releasing or showing those games in 2020. And it's disappointing, and it means that people are just going to continue to be disappointed in Nintendo this year. A lot of people seem to be able to understand the health situation and afford them that slack like I am, and that's great. But a lot of people, in fact, I would say most people, seem to not be willing to do that. Most people at this point, halfway through the year, or coming up on halfway through the year, with no Nintendo Directs, no E3, and no new huge game announcements, Most people are just disappointed and upset and very negative towards Nintendo and what's going on. They're not willing to give them slack, and they're not willing to see the health crisis as an excuse for them being slow. I can't tell people if that's right or wrong. That's up to all of you guys out there to determine for yourself how you feel about it. I can only share with you how I feel about it and explain to you why I feel that way, and just let it be what it is, you know? And it's not about giving Nintendo a pass either. It's not about, oh, you're just a fanboy and you don't want to be mad at them and you don't want to tell them that they're doing wrong and blah, 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 so you're just giving them a pass. It's not that at all. Like, I don't operate that way. I ain't in no ambassadors program, man. I'm not getting anything from Nintendo or any company. I mean, I get some review codes here and there, but I'm not actually getting anything or a part of anything. I'm just myself. I'm just a dude on YouTube on the internet. And so I just happen to see this as what it is. And Nintendo or any company that has been having to adjust their plans this year, I get it, man. You've got that slack from me. I'm willing to give it to you, so I know why people are negative towards Nintendo, but personally, I just can't be that way. So these are my thoughts and opinions on what's going on in the wake of the Pokemon Unite announcement and everyone's very, very negative reaction to it for the most part. And I don't know, 2020's whack, man. This is probably like the 40th time I've had to say that in a video already in just the first half of the year. It's crazy, but I think it's relevant conversation. I enjoy talking about this stuff and dissecting this aspect of Nintendo this year because it is so unique that I think there are a ton of different angles to come at this from. That's why I have so many different videos on this topic, but coming at it from different angles. I think it's very important to explore all of these different things. And in this conversation, it was really about just a reaction to my observation of how most people have been reacting to Nintendo and the Switch's lineup throughout most of this year, because it's just fascinating to me. So these are my thoughts and opinions. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Are you mad? Are you not mad? What do you think about Pokemon Unite? Share your thoughts about that stuff below. And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.